Hey everyone, welcome to Ellis Mowers. We got some stump grinding going on next door from the ice storm cleanup, and so I'm going to be behind the camera here showing y'all this this time. Anyways, we're making two bad mowers into one good mower. First one is, well, it's pretty obvious what we're going to do. We're going to put the engine off of this one onto this one, and what we're going to do, let me give you a synopsis here overall. You know that somebody's been fiddling around with a push mower whenever you see the air hat on the wrong way. So the donor engine is going to be an MTD 20-inch short shaft. That's the key to this. It has to be a short shaft engine, and that's why I'm taking this deck. So short shaft engine. It's a 450 series. It's a newer model. I think it's a 2012. Oh, it's 2013 actually. So it's literally the last year. 2013, first month, 25th day. January 25th of 2013. And so what we're going to do is take this engine. This is actually the last year they made the Briggs Classic engine. So that's kind of an interesting thing as well. We're going to take this engine, which I know runs, it needs some carb adjustment, but that's easy. We're going to put it on this frame. This is a little bit dirty, but it's a 20-inch Murray frame. It had the 3.5 horsepower Briggs on it, but it's got a lot of the old style linkages and whatnot with it, and I think it had the auto choke carb on it too, like the Pulsa Prime type. And the pull rope spring ended up breaking on it. So the cost of a pull rope spring is more than you know, the value of the mower. So we're taking two trash mowers and making one good one. I will keep this engine around just in case I get one random push mower that comes in that is blown up but has the old style recoil on it, and we can work with that. So let me go ahead and get started. What we got to do first is pretty much take the safety cables off of both of them. I'm going to go ahead and dismantle. The only thing I'm going to save off of this mower, and the reason why it's getting trashed or getting scrapped, is because the deck here started to come apart at the back with just rust, and the wheels are wore out. So this mower's gotten its usable life out of the deck. We're going to pull the handle, we're going to pull the safety cable and the discharge chute, and that's all we're going to save off of this one. The blade was even trashed on it and was upside down. Now for the Murray, obviously we're going to just put the newer engine onto it and make it like a $50 mower. So it's not going to be anything special, but it will be something that can be used to cut grass with. Everything is in decent shape on it, otherwise, apart from it being a little dirty, even the blade, which the blade should just pop right onto this old, or pop right onto this 20-inch, or this new engine, excuse me. Might see if I can find another adapter for it, but either way, we'll make it work. Let me go ahead and get my tools. I'm going to just go ahead and disconnect, take my 5/16 off, and we'll disconnect the safety cable, and that'll be it for right now. I want to keep everything else on it because it's a good engine, and if I get a spare in that has a good recoil but is blown up, I can totally use it on this. So let's go ahead and get started. Alright guys, try to get you as close as I can, and again, pardon the noise. They're just cleaning up from the ice storm. My neighbor had 6 trees fall down, and they got the trees up. They're just doing stump grinding now. So I'm just taking this little cover off right here, right? Just so that I can access this spring right here. The spring that holds on the holds on that pull rope. Sometimes you have to take it off in order to fiddle this off. Sometimes you don't. And it's a little Z-bend, and that's all it is. I'm gonna try not taking off that spring and just using some pliers. There we go. So I did get that off. It's just, I'll show you once I get it off here. And then just pull the Z-bend out. So that's out. All I did was take those two tabs right there and push them in with pliers, pull it out, and we were done. We're keeping all of this so that this engine is now completely detached from the mower. So now what I'll do, just gonna go ahead and turn it on its side. We'll go ahead and rip this bad boy out here. Might have to swap the wheels off of that Boland's onto this because those wheels are pretty brittle. That'll be an easy job to do if I have to do that. Okay, so now I'm down here at the bottom, right? A 9/16 is going to get the blade off. Nope, it's a 5/8, excuse me. It didn't have the right adapter on it, but you can make those work as long as you torque it down tight enough. Now the next step, there should be enough oil and stuff under this deck to where these bolts should come out fairly easily. And of course it's 9/16 and not a half. Give me a sec. Alright, 9/16. Here we go. Let's see if we can get it off. One. Yeah, that's good. Alright, I'm going to come to the front and just hold on to the top of the engine as I get it off. Alright guys, that engine's off. I'm basically going to repeat that with the other one. I'm not going to show it on camera to save time and also because of the noise that I've got going on out here. But when I get to the point where I'm going to put the new one on, I'll clean this deck off under as well and we will put it on. I'll show you all that on camera. So let me put the other one out, take the other one off, and then I'll figure out how I want to put the new one on with all the blade adapters and stuff like that. Catch you in a few. Alright guys, I'm in the process of taking the wheels off and putting them back on. I'll do one side at a time. I'll do this side on camera, at least this particular one. This is just, like I said, the bolt-on wheels. So you just kind of pop them on and pop them off, pop new ones on. Let me show you the old ones. The older ones, which have good tread, but the plastic in them is starting to break, as you can see. And then the new ones, basically the exact same wheel, which is awesome. So plug and play here, guys. Plug and play. Let's see if they're about the same depth. I think they are. So I was able to save all the hardware on the rotted out deck except for one. So we'll be able to mismatch some hardware to make this work. So 9/16 on the bottom on this one. The other one was a half. And then 3/4 on top with an impact, and that's usually going to get it off for us. And those are not on there very, only about 2 or 3 or more than about 2 or 3 threads, but not too many threads there, guys. So just taking the wrench and putting that and screwing it back on, and that usually helps me get it off whenever it loosens up like that. We're obviously not going to keep these wheels. We are going to replace them. Of course, I chose the one wheel that didn't have the hardware on it. So let's see. So all we had here was a little small washer under this wheel, right? We just put it in like so. Put the nut in. That's a half, I'm pretty sure. I think that's a 1/2 inch nut. No, that's a 9/16 as well. Okay, good. We'll just see, it's got a shoulder bolt on it, so all you gotta do is just put it on until it gets tight. And well, that wheel should be good to go, but it's on the little discharge sheet, so that's the easy fix. We'll just put it at the back. There's multiple holes here that we can attach to, and so we're going to attach to that hole, and that should give us, oh yeah, it gives us plenty of clearance. About midway up on the wheel as well, so that's a good height. Come on, just work off of there. Nut got stuck on there. And the only other thing is you have to remember is where did you put the wheel on the first one, and then just match the other 3, you know. So run that up. Perfect. Got some spins very well. So on the front, I put it, or on the back, I put it on this hole right here. They originally were in that hole, so I guess the old wheel didn't scrape the discharge chute. So I'll do the same with this side here. Again, the washer on the top with the wheel. And then put the nut in. Get my 9/16 and my 3/4. And I will definitely save the old shoulder bolts, and I might even save the wheels. Well, I'll probably just save the shoulder bolts because they're. Uh-oh, I might have just. Nah. Perfect. I'll do the other side, and then I'll rejoin you as we put the engine on. How about that? Alright guys, let me show you what I usually do. I usually get it on my little electronics table here. It's my work table for the mowers. And I put a jack stand under the front of it. I did get the remainder of the wheels on, and they're much better than the old ones. Not in terms of tread, but in terms of like durability. The old ones were about to crack and fall off. Luckily it took all the same hardware, so it was very easy to do. Just make sure you have them all at the same height whenever you do put them on. Anyways, now it's time for the engine. I'm going to use Murray Craftsman /AYP/ whatever, and MTD all use kind of different type bolts to mount with depending on the way that they have their decks. So these are the ones that came on the mower, and I'm going to use those. They should be the same thread pattern and all that. So I usually just get this set in here, like so, and then I come in the bottom, and then just do my best to line the hole up with the bolt, and you'll know once you get it in there. At least you should. There we go. As I said, they are self-starters, but you have the threads in there. And what I do is I finger tighten all three of them. Number 2. Get a few threads in at least. I don't like how that one went in. Better. Okay, so next I'm just going to take a that's a 9/16 and a ratchet here. I'm going to tighten it up. See if I can actually get you on the mower here so we can look at it a little better. One more time. Get y'all an aerial view while I lower my tripod here, right? Alright, now y'all are under. You should be able to see a little bit better what I'm doing. I'm just using the wrench to get them tight. Or at least to where I know that I can turn them, right? One in the back was the one that was giving me a little trouble. Oh, it's much better now. Okay, good. Much better, okay. So I get one of them tightened up all the way, and then I usually just kind of bump them with the impact. So that one's tight. You know when tools disappear? Well, that's just happened. Either way, y'all know how to use an impact. Y'all seen it many times. So that's what I'll do with the other 2 bolts. You don't want to impact the mess out of it. There we go. found it. Of course, I have the wrong one. All right. Again, not crazy because I have had them break off, and let me just say, you don't want them to break off. So let's see if I can get this. Oh, come on. Next order of business is I want to get that off. Because I would like to change the adapter out for one that is flush and it accommodates the actual Murray blade a little bit better. There we go. That worked. Spray it with a little WD-40 real quick. What I'll actually do is I will take it off. Since I have the engine mounted, I'm going to take it off of this bench, turn it on its side, and we'll attach the blade and stuff there. Alright guys, I'm going to spray it with the lubricant now. And I sprayed it a little bit before I took it off, just in hopes of what happened actually did happen, which is that I didn't have to use any jaw pullers and I could just take it off by hand. Alright, this is the new adapter that I'm going to put on it. And you see how short this shaft is right here? So that short shaft is indicative of just mostly what they use on basic push mowers now. You could also, in many instances, depending on how the shaft is oriented, I guess with the way that the bolt is tapered, you can take pressure washer engines and put them on these. This blade's already fairly sharp. I'm not even going to worry about sharpening it. The reason why I changed that adapter is because this adapter was flush. You can see that the blade is kind of high for this mower. But it should cut the grass okay still. So I think this shaft is even shorter than the one that was on it, right? I'm not sure though. I could put a spacer. I got another one of these spacer washers. That would help. I might do that. Because the friction of the blade, the torque of this 5/8 will hold, is what holds these Murray blades on. They don't have any sort of like keys to adapt or anything into them. So let me grab, I got another one of them washers. I'm going to grab one of them just to help space it out a little bit, give it a little bit more travel. That way it's not cutting all the way up here. It's cutting a little bit closer to the deck. So let me experiment a little bit. Alright guys, I found a solution. Like I said, the Murray blades just work off the friction of the of those little circle washers, and so I ground it off of this MTD adapter to where it's flat, and it's a little bit longer. I test fitted it already. We'll just pop it in real quick. And then we will put the blade on it. Let's see, that way. And a washer. Push that up in there. I'll get my 5/8 impact. We're just going to run it up in there. And that friction of that plate or that washer right there where it bends down provides that friction on the outside of the blade to prevent it from, you know, sliding around and such. And if you check the blade height now, you see where it was way up there. It was up there about like right here. Now we're down right on the edge of the deck, which is perfect. So let me turn this thing back over. I'm going to hook up the safety cable. Pine residue. I'm just putting the Z-bend in. And then this. Just snapping it in there. And so our safety cable is now working again. Next order of business is, let's see if I can do this on the ground here. Just gonna get this air hat off here, or air filter, whatever you want to call it. I'll show you what they did with the carburetor. This thing was running wide open. Air filter's in good shape though. I just need to clean it off, and I will be fine on this. So I don't have to worry about replacing it or anything like that. Let me show you what they did. It's a great way to blow up your engine. Luckily this one's not. So they have this cable, which it only acts with a spring. These newer style Briggs only act with like one spring. So this thing is running wide open. So it's supposed to be, if I can pull this plastic tab up and over, it's supposed to be running like that. But then again, the spring they have on it is way too tight. And so it's just going to run wide open and have no choke or anything like that on it. So, and they had some sort of, I don't know, they just had it hooked down here and all that mess. So let's take that off, right? I could probably make this work, but let me look at my spring bank and see if I can find anything a little bit better that's going to work. Besides this contraption. I might have a spring for one of these. If I do, great. If not, no big deal. That's a pretty easy spring tension to figure out. And then we should have a good running lawnmower. I think it ran pretty well, apart from it running extremely fast when I first got it. So, alrighty, y'all. Before I put you on the tripod and start it, I found a different spring that has a little less tension and whatnot on it. I think I'm going to be able to make that work. I did have to take the 3/8 and the 1/2 inch bolt off, take the carburetor off, or take the gas tank and carburetor off. I had a bunch of water in it, had to drain that out. And so let's see if it starts. Number one, it should. Number two, if RPM wise, how it sounds. Still got some water in the fuel. I did raise the RPM by bending that tab out that y'all saw because it seemed like it was running a little on the slow side. So now I'll attempt to try it again. Needs a diaphragm. Could have figured that because they will, if you run them fast as they'll go, they'll probably blow through that diaphragm pretty quickly. So let me get it back on the bench and we'll go ahead and put a diaphragm on it. And then we'll clean it up. Alright, let's do this. Like I said, I took out that 3/8 and a half bolt. Gets us to this point when you take out your little spring and then your big governor rod. This may be a little bit different if your mower's a little bit older than 2013. They made, I think, 3 different types. Of governor setups for these. But we're just taking out 5 Phillips screws now. I'm probably gonna find a little bit of crud in the gas tank too. It might just be some water, but that water, I guess, will harden the diaphragm or dry out the diaphragm too, which is kind of odd. But alright, so that's the next one, and then number 5 is back here in the middle. If I can get it. Here we go. Screwdriver only with these guys. Don't want to strip anything. Yeah, this diaphragm's pretty hard from what I can tell with the seal. Back of the carb looks pretty good though. A little bit of water, but nothing crazy. Alright, so inside the... Let me pull this out. Yeah, it's just a little hardened, that's all. Nothing insane. Just pull very easily whenever you pull this out because you don't want to have too much residue to have to clean up. You can see the water in it. I'm going to take this, give me just a hot second, we'll take this and dump it right here and see how dry it is, and then we'll go ahead and put the new gasket on. So give me just 1 second. The mating surface looks good. We'll make sure that that's dry as well. So there's a little bit of a hardish diaphragm combined with, I think, a little bit of sediment down here in the pickup. area. Again, nothing crazy, it was just causing it to run a little rough there. So again, diaphragm on the bottom, gasket on the top. I buy these from Mower Parts Warehouse on eBay. They are about $1 cheaper, and they're still they're not Chinese copies. They're made in Brazil, so they're better, a little bit better quality. I hadn't had any issues with them. And when you do, you know, like I said, about a dozen of these a year, and if you have a shop, if you have a legit shop, you probably do more. It's probably going to be less and less as the years go by, as these start fizzling out. But saving 20-30 bucks is a big deal. As long as you know that it works. If you get a batch, like I used the Chinese diaphragms for a little while, and they kind of worked, and then I got a couple of batches that were just not good, and so I decided to do an alternative. I'm just tightening these Phillips screws. One thing you need to do is make sure that you don't puncture the holes or puncture any holes in the diaphragm or the gasket when you do this. Make sure that your holes line up, because if not, you're going to have problems. So doing it in a star pattern here, just kind of like you torque your wheels on your car, or torque a gasket, torque a sump pan when you're putting a new gasket on. Nothing different. Here we go. You don't need to be crazy tight, just snug enough to where it's not going to leak out the sides. We're going to put it, well, let's put it back on the mower while you're still here. Let's see. Alright, let's put it back on the mower. I'm going to put this rod in first here. This is always the trickiest to get in. Just stick that rod through the big hole on the butterfly of the carb. You can go ahead and slide this back in on the intake tube, and then you take your little spring, which should have a little bit more tension on it, or a little bit more flexibility, and pop it into your small hole on the butterfly, at least on this type of setup for carbs for this classic engine. Having a little difficulty, stand by. There we go. Just going to push that in some so that I know that it's not going to fall out, and do the same on the other side. There's your little gasket for your air filter cover. 3/8 and 1/2 inch go in here. Make sure you don't lose your spacer that's behind this gas tank, because that acts as a stop and it doesn't stress out your metal tank. Okay, so that's that. I'm going to clean off the air filter, go ahead and put that back on, and we'll test this thing out again. I'll throw this away too. We'll test this out again and see if it runs any smoother now. Alright guys, we're back together with the cleaned air filter and the new carb diaphragm. Let me grab my little helper with my holds my bar, and we'll see how she runs. Different with a good diaphragm. You also hear how it doesn't change whenever I'm moving it back and forth like it had been before. So that diaphragm was on its way out. That's a service item for these things. I mean, everything's got to have service at some point, right? So, you know, $4 every 5 to 6 years a lot of times is what will fix everything. So I'm going to go ahead and wash it. We'll give a final look and we'll wrap this video up. Alright guys, here's the final product of this Franken mower. Just putting another engine on a good deck. Turned out very well actually. Obviously the wheels are a little bit worn, but they were in a lot better condition than the ones that were on the deck. And so we took the wheels off the old deck, we took the engine off the old deck, and seems like it's gonna run pretty well. I just had to do that blade adapter on the bottom. I'll give you all a final look and run real quick, and then we will wrap this video up. Beautifully. I had already had it running after I washed it just to make sure that everything was good on it still. So I don't know, must be kind of like the precursor to before they made the 3.5 classics, which I've got one right here and another one over here I'm about to work on. The decks on the not these but the other ones are not as, these decks are nowhere near as durable or as thick, but they still last. I've had quite a few of these 20 and 22 inch decks that have come through, and they're not broken, they're just thin, and so somebody's going to get this and they'll probably get a good 3 to 5 years out of it, hopefully, as long as they take care of it. But with $50 mowers, which is about all this is worth, it's a throwaway item, honestly, to whoever gets it. I'm just pretty much turning money into nothing, or turning what was nothing into a little bit of money for me. So we'll wrap this video up. You know, just taking two things that I had here that weren't useful and turning it into one thing that is useful. I mean, I've done that quite a few times on the channel, so nothing new here. Again, not going to make a lot of money off of it, but it keeps you, keeps your skill set up, and it makes you feel good because you're not throwing some stuff away that you can make good, So this makes, I just counted, this is number 11 in terms of push mowers I've gotten ready for the 2021 season. There are probably 1, 2, 3, 4 more here that I'm going to be able to get going, which would make it about 15. Again, I'm working with what I've got because I wasn't able to secure any customer return loads this year. So I think 15 is a good number, and then I've got riding mowers, and all that stuff's going to come up on the channel here throughout the spring as I keep fixing and working and selling and trading and acquiring. So you'll see a lot more stuff coming up on the channel. Push mower, riding mower, maybe a little bit of 2-cycle stuff. We'll see what we get into. But for now, we got this Murray fixed, and it's going to go off to a new owner. Hopefully they'll be happily cutting their grass. I'll catch y'all in the next video.